All right, so when we are multiplying matrices, it's not as straightforward as, you know, taking the first cell times the first cell and you're done. So it gets very, very intense when you are doing it by hand. So again, I'm going to send you over to Simbo Lab, but I'm going to talk to you about it first. So one of the things that you need to notice, I'm just going to make up 2 random things. Actually, that's a lie. I'm going to go over to the homework, and I'm just going to write it down. If I have, wait, I am looking. All right, if I have this matrix, which is a 1, -4, -3, and 8, and I have another matrix, -6, -9. Okay, so this is where we need to ask specifically what are the dimensions, or what's the size of each matrix. So this matrix is 2 tall by 2 wide. Okay, so this is a 2 by 2. That's a square matrix. Now come over here. This one is a 2 by 1. Okay, he's 2 tall and he is 1 wide. Okay, so the way that we know that we can multiply these things together is I need to look at the inner 2 numbers. Okay, if these 2 numbers match, I can do this. Okay, if the columns in the first matrix match the number of the number of rows in the second matrix, then I can multiply them. Now, here's the deal. It's the weird part. If I were to flip-flop these, and let's just say that this is matrix A and matrix B, I can multiply matrix A times matrix B. I cannot multiply matrix B times matrix A. Okay, so write down your dimensions. If the ones that are next to each other are the same quantity, if they're the same number, then you can multiply them. All right, so since these 2 are the same quantity, all you have to do at this point is go over into Simbo Lab, okay, and grab a 2 by 2 matrix and fill it out. And it's going to have it like this, where it's got the 4 little spots, okay. Right next to it, put a 2 by 1 matrix and fill those in. And then hit enter. Worst case is you'll have to put an asterisk in between to tell it to multiply, but it should know. Because you're writing them right smack next to each other, it should know that you're multiplying. All right, so that being said, we are now going to look at these things. So all you're doing is multiplying, multiplying, multiplying. All right, so the next thing I want to do is figure out if inverses if matrices are inverses of one another. Okay, so I will know if 2 matrices are inverses of one another if I get the identity matrix as an answer. Okay, I will know that 2 matrices are inverses of one another if I get the identity matrix when I multiply them as an answer. So the identity matrix will be a diagonal of 1s and everything else is 0s. So let's just make something up. I've got a 5 and a 1 and a 2 and a -1, and I've got another matrix of -1, 1, 2, and -4, and I put those into Simbo Lab. My answer, if B is the inverse of A, then I'll get this answer. Okay, then flip-flop them. Okay, so you can do BA. So enter this one first and then multiply it by this one. So you'll also notice that they have to be the same dimensions for this to work. Okay, so an inverse can only be an inverse, or our matrix can only be an inverse of another matrix if they have the same dimensions. Okay, so you're going to do A times B and hopefully get this. Okay, if you get that, then you know that this is true. They are inverses of one another. Okay, then flip-flop them. So enter this matrix first times this matrix. If you get this back, then they are again inverses of one another. You have to do it both ways. Okay, you have to enter A, then B, multiply. Then enter B, then A, multiply. Okay, the last couple problems in this section are going to be to find the inverse. Okay, so we are told to find the inverse of 3, 3, 2, 3. Meaning, what do I multiply it by to get this answer? Okay, what would I have to multiply this matrix by to get this answer? That's what we're finding. So your inverse matrix is, all you have to do, you can do one of two things. Go to Symbolab, type in the word inverse, and then enter in your 2 by 2. And then hit enter, and it's going to tell you what the inverse is. Or you can do 3, 3, 2, 3, and raise it to the -1 power. And that's actually not to the -1. It's telling it to find the inverse. Okay, so it's going to know what that means. But those are two ways to find the inverse. And again, if this was a linear algebra class, I would be showing you step by step how to do it. If you have a graphing calculator, your calculator will do it. But if you want to go to Symbolab matrix, just enter these things in and it'll give you the answer that you need. Okay, so you can find those and you can find those, and that literally is all of 6.5. So you can essentially do this entire section in Symbolab.